Hey, welcome back to the Nets, the home of unbiased views. Here we are back again with another special section on Arsenal. Before we go anywhere, please do hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're coming in for the first time. If you have been here before, give us a shout out. You're back here again, so you do like us, so give us a shout out if you can. And if you don't like the content, please do leave it in the comments. We will be glad to work on it. With me is Elroy and Samved. Welcome back, guys.
Hey
Hi
Kayur, hey
guys.
Samit.
So, uh, this special thing that we have started doing these days is about Arsenal and some of the vintage games and classics that we have witnessed over the years. So we bring one of the specials again, Arsenal versus Tottenham. I mean, the North London Derby is always special, but today we take a deeper dive into one of those classic games that we came back from behind and beat them. And let's go straight away to that, Elroy.
Yes. So guys, as you know, last weekend we had the first segment, the first episode of this segment that we have started, and we spoke about a classic Arsenal 2, Barcelona 1 in the Champions League knockout round. So today we have decided to go back to the Premier League and have another talk about another classic, which was Arsenal 5, Tottenham 2, the first of the 5-2, which was and I know this is one game which is special in every Arsenal fan's memory. It's always good to beat Tottenham and to beat them in the fashion that we did, the type of game. It was simply superb. A lot of memories behind this match. Each of us have our own stories. So let's get to it. So Keyur, I'll start with you this time. So what was your memory about this game? How did you watch it? What was it? Where did you watch this game? How was it? Your take on this?
So this was one of those games that I think I was home. I was watching it on TV regular, but taking it back to the start of the season, I would bring back those memories that we had lost. That was one of those seasons where
Yeah,
we actually started losing good players. We lost Clichy,
yeah.
we lost Nasri, we lost Lemon was
Fabregas.
injured, retired. I think Lemon retired as well, and
We lost Fabregas that time.
Fabregas as well. So we actually
Yeah.
lost the core that we had, and that was the time. I think that was the beginning of where people started with the Wenger out hashtag.
Wenger out. Yes,
That
yes, yeah.
was the season, and coming into this game, Premier League form, we were red hot. Percy was
Yeah.
scoring for fun. Everybody was doing well.
Yes.
But then, April, February, I mean, Jan, February is the time when we used to have that trend where we get knocked out of all competitions.
Yes.
And this year was no different. So we, I think, had lost to AC Milan 3-0.
4-0.
And then we had
4-0.
also been
4-0
knocked
in the
out
first
by,
leg.
was it Sunderland?
I Sunderland or Aston Villa. I think it was Sunderland if I'm not wrong.
Sunderland.
Yes,
We
we
lost
lost
2-1
to,
to
Yes,
Sunderland.
yeah,
Sunderland.
in the FA Cup. Yeah.
2-0, 2-0 to Sunderland in FA Cup. And then was
Yeah.
the big game. So it was amazing. I mean, you had those jitters that it's Tottenham, we are playing them against home. I
Yeah.
mean, in our home. And in the fourth minute, the entire crowd goes away when you are 4-0. I mean, you're down. Luis Saha scores that goal, and we are down. And
Yeah.
we have to say, Tottenham was that team at that point of time where we actually thought that they had some really good players. They had bought Van der
Yeah.
Vaart that season, I think. And
Uh,
Adebayor, I mean, as much as we love to hate him, he was a good striker.
yeah.
Mhm.
So my memories of those games is, you had all these pumped up blood that we are playing Tottenham and we are 4-0 down and Wenger out is trending again, and it just brings all those fun stuff
Yeah.
back. How about you guys?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
Keo, to just add to your point as well, I think if we have to bring up some other points, see, first of all, the season started off very badly. Second thing was, this was the season that we lost 8-2 to United. When you start off
Mhm.
a season losing 8-2 to United, you know that it's going to be Wenger out started at around that time, which was, as you
Yes.
said. And for the first time in a really, really long time, our Champions League spot was threatened. And at the game when we went to play Tottenham, we were 10 points behind Tottenham, which was a big gap. And what unfolded after this match was definitely
Mhm.
special. So we'll get to that. So, Samved, your take. Where did you watch this match? How was it for you?
Uh, Again, I had also watched this game at home. If I'm not wrong, I was preparing for an exam, so I was preparing for my army entrance exams at that time.
Oh,
And yeah, so
okay.
it was a welcome break. The Watching the Premiership and especially watching Arsenal versus Tottenham. One of the biggest games of the season for us. I guess by that time, United versus Arsenal had become quite one-sided. It wasn't as big
Yes,
a fixture
yes,
for us
yes,
because we would go into such games knowing that okay, whatever we can salvage, even if we get a point out of it, it'll be good for us.
yes.
And if I'm not wrong, Chelsea were struggling that season. They eventually went on to win the Champions League.
Champions League. Yes, yes.
Yes. And if I'm also not wrong, Tottenham had actually finished in the top four but missed
The
out on
definition,
Champions League. And then,
because
yeah, Redknapp got sacked because Chelsea had won the Champions League. It was crazy stuff. We were trailing. There was really no hope for Arsenal at the start of the season, especially after losing such key players. And
yeah,
then, that deadline day frenzy where we signed so many players.
yes,
Everyone was unsure about Mikel Arteta because people thought, okay, he's been at Everton. It isn't like, he's a winner, he's a proven winner or something like that. And we had bought
yeah,
in Mertesacker, if I'm not wrong.
yeah.
And, just look, if you look at the lineup also, it's really crazy to even think that, a team like that would actually qualify for Champions League year
At the
after year.
Champions League. Yeah,
Going into the game, especially when it's a North London derby, you leave all the noise aside, whether it is Wenger in, Wenger out,
yeah,
nothing matters, at that
yes,
point of time. Everyone's focus is just on the game. And it was, even though we Tottenham scored 2 goals, we never really looked like we were going to lose that game because we kept on attacking. We kept on
yeah,
attacking. Like you said, Van Persie was in red hot form in that season,
yeah.
and Walcott also. He had a pretty
He
decent
was,
season.
yes, yes,
Yes.
yeah.
What about you? What are your memories going into the
So
game?
for me, this game was really, really special, and the reason being that this was in the 2011-12 season, and
Hmm.
this was the that was a season where we had formed the Arsenal Goa group called Arsenalites. Okay, and the group was kicking off at a really, really high level. And somewhere this is how we got to know each other because you were a part of
Yes.
that group as well. So this match, 26 February 2012, was where we had our first ever screening. So a couple, like few of us made a plan, and some of my friends said, let's watch a match together. And this was back in 2012, where in Goa at least there were not a lot of screenings. It was a rare sight because there was no,
Hmm.
the supporter clubs also were not properly formed and stuff that way. It was really difficult. So we had our first ever screening. We were around 15 of us who met up at a pub in Panjim in Goa, and it's an exciting thing. Your first time ever that you're watching a match together with fellow Arsenal fans. And as KU said, for 4 minutes down, first thing we allow Saha to score with a deflected shot which bounces over Chesney. And
Hmm.
late to, like, soon after that, Chesney tackles Bale, if I'm not wrong, and they get a penalty, and
Yeah,
Adebayo
it was
scores.
actually a dive. Yeah, there was no
Yes,
contact
yeah.
whatsoever. I remember that.
And within no time, you see that you're 2-0 down, and that's it. You're just, you have come. We have gone here for a screening. First time that Arsenal fans are meeting together, and you see that within like the start of the match, you're 2-0 down, and you have nothing. Like it's such a like. It was supposed to be a special moment, and all of a sudden, that speciality is just
Hmm.
taken away from it. That factor. And then you see that Sanya scores, Percy goes, and we have a comeback. And at the end of the night, it was the atmosphere. The 15 of us actually got really, really close. We became good friends because of that one game that brought us together. And then from then onwards, we kicked off our screenings. We had more screening. So this match will always be special to me. And in fact, if you guys have seen that Premier League India video itself, I mentioned this game because this game is really, really special to me. It brought me close to a lot of Arsenal fans, and it gave me that bond where you watch a match with fellow Arsenal fans. It's always something special. It is. So for me, it was definitely a match that will always be remembered that way. So yeah. So, guys, if we have, as usual, like last time, let's talk about some of the players who stood out on that night.
Hmm.
So okay, you obviously said, like, everyone knows Van Persie was in hot form, and I think he had 1 goal and 1 assist or something. But yes, apart from, I mean, who were your top three Arsenal players on the night, say, on that day?
So let's take it as a given that Van Persie was probably, I'm not going to talk about him because he was out and out the best. And Van
Yes,
Persie, in that season, he could hold the ball, he could finish the ball, he could pass the ball, he could do
yeah,
everything. So I'm not going to talk about him. For me, the player that stood out was Sanya, probably the last good, decent right back that we had. Uh, Theo Walcott had a special night. And then I
Yeah.
would say the North London Derby specialist, Thomas Trosiski. He was,
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
I used to like him, but I was not really a big, massive fan of Trosiski, as some people are like, they call him a legend, and I
Yeah.
don't do that. But when we were having a North London Derby, I would have my eyes on him. I would actually have hopes from him that, yeah, today he will
Yeah.
perform. It was one of those nights, and it might have been a simple tap in, but just being there in the right place at the right time, making that run, that is what makes players special. And I think he was special. So these three players for me were
Yes.
definitely someone who stood out.
But Kayur, I wouldn't agree that it was a simple tap in because the guy made a
Yeah.
run to Walcott, and his run at that near post was because he one thing good about Walcott was to find that cross. He was good at those low crosses and stuff
Mhm.
that way. But
Yes.
for Rosicky run as such, I mean, and yeah, as you said, Rosicky for me had that special emotion with him. Like, and he scoring against Tottenham was always something we Arsenal fans would just go mad about. So Kayur, I think, I mean, somewhere Kayur has covered it up. But do you want to elaborate on any other player or on the players itself that
Oh,
we
no,
spoke about?
definitely. I think by the time that this game came, we had a pretty decent defense. Koscielny and Vermaelen were
Yes.
becoming quite a solid partnership. And with if I'm not wrong, Gibbs was also really coming into his groove after
Yes. Yeah.
Clichy had left. So I think this was the time where we really started doing well in at least in the Premier League. We were out of the
Yeah.
competition and
Yeah.
everything. The focus was really on the Premier League finishing in the top four. Eventually, we
Top four.
finished
Yes.
third. Yes. So I think that even when you look at the highlights of the game, the defense was actually quite good that night. Because
Yeah.
especially marking a player like Bale and even Adebayor for that matter, I think our defense had done a really good job after the initial couple of goals. One of which was again, it was a dive by Gareth Bale. I think Theo Walcott had a really poor first half, if I remember correctly. And like you said, there's no point talking about Van Persie. He was our best player
Yeah.
that season. The one player that I really believe stood out in that game was Alex Song. I think it was
Oh
also
yeah.
one of his
He
best seasons, and
he
he
it
was
was his best
really
season, and yeah.
yes. And
Yes.
also Mikel Arteta, because frankly speaking, I had no expectations whatsoever. I had
Yes.
no expectations whatsoever from Mikel Arteta when we had signed him, but
Yeah.
uh, I think he was quite solid in that game.
Yeah. So I think this would be a good part to for us to touch up on the season as such in general. See, as Kayur mentioned, we let go of not let go. We've players like Nasri, Clichy, and what do you call that? And Fabregas left. Now, when someone like Fabregas and Nasri leaves, you're losing out two massive, massive creative players. Attacking players. You're losing out on goals and assists, and and Clichy left, and Arsenal. This is where Arsenal had a mad window. We signed Gervinho at the start of the season. We signed Chamberlain. We
Hmm.
signed. So, and on the final 48 hours, we signed Andre Santos, Chu Young Park, then Mertesacker, Arteta, and Benayoun. Like that was
Hmm.
I mean, I don't think any Arsenal. It's very rare for Arsenal fans to see so many signings in one go. Now, for me, my point was that we lost two quality players, mainly in Fabregas and Nasri. We
Nasri.
replaced, you can say, although it didn't turn out to be a good replacement, we kind of replaced losing Clichy with Santos, although Gibbs stepped up to the occasion that time. We replaced Nasri and Fabregas with the likes of Arteta and
Benayoun.
Benayoun. Arteta, he for me, see, this is one of the reasons why I liked Arteta as a player, as a manager, because I loved him as a player, because he came into the club when the club was at a very bad spot. He took a pay cut to join us. Yes, he was not the most flashy player, not the most star-studded player, like someone who would get you a lot of, but he played for the team. And if you read the comments, like the way he was always with tactics as a player, the way he was a coach when he was a player itself, you see, and you see the logic behind why Arsenal wanted him as a manager, because he was a player that who fought for Arsenal at the end of the day, who fought for the bag.
Mhm.
Yes, he was not the most technically gifted player, and he, in fact, Arteta at Everton was a more advanced player, and he dropped deep a bit for the team. He again, he was not the best when he dropped deep. He was not the best defensive midfielder, but he did a job that was required, and he did it well. He kept, the kind of job that Shaka does nowadays of the country progressive passing,
Mhm.
moving the ball ahead, nothing flashy but consistent and good. That is what Arteta was, and I always liked him for the things that he did. He and Mertesacker were two players for me who came into our team when we needed them the most. And in my opinion, that era where later on we won the FA Cups, and Wenger had some, we won say 2 3 FA Cups in a row. Arteta and Mertesacker were key figures, and it all goes back to their decision to join the club at that point of time when the club was not at its was start at a shaky situation. So that is why I like these two players a lot. Mertesacker didn't play in that 4-2 5-2 derby because he was injured, if I'm not wrong, in the previous
Mhm.
couple of games. But yeah, so I have a connection with these group of players, this particular group, and it's always special to
Just
appreciate
to
them for
just
that.
to add to this, and both these players, Mertesacker and Arteta, they really proved a lot of people wrong, including
Yes,
myself, because the fans weren't really happy. Mertesacker
yes,
wasn't perceived as a very good defender, a strong defender.
yeah.
People had their doubts, and
And we were
of
after
course he
Gary
had.
Cahill that time. Yes.
Yes, and of course
Yeah.
he had his shortcomings. If I'm not wrong, Arsenal didn't sign Gary Cahill because for $1 million or
To
something
yeah.
like that. And
Yeah.
also, if I'm not wrong, the signing of Park Chu Young especially pissed off Eden Hazard's club at that time. So we were very close to signing Eden Hazard, and we made a last minute effort to sign Park Chu Young. So it was a crazy transfer window. And we
Yeah.
got two of, I would say, the modern greats of Arsenal, not because they
Yeah.
were great players, but they did a really solid job
They
at
did a,
Arsenal.
and it goes to say, it says a lot that both these two players right now are in our management level. One guy is heading the
Definitely.
first team, and one guy is heading the entire youth
Academy.
setup. So it sees the
Yes.
impact that these two players had at that point of time, which these two signings must have not seen that important, are two very very important signings at the club right now. Post
Mhm.
retirement. So which says a lot about them. So yeah, so let's move on to the game now. So Keyur, we start
One of
off
the
with,
things
as we
that I
mentioned,
think,
yeah.
isn't this the same year that we also had Henri on loan for 90 days or 70 days?
Yes, 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 yes.
And
And
Yes.
this match
I
was,
was actually so pissed at Wenger because he let Henri go on 16th February, and I was like, keep him
oh
for
yeah,
another
the
10
loan.
days, man.
Yes.
Let
Yeah.
him play the North London Derby
Yes.
before you let him go. So that was one of
Yeah.
my moments where I was so mad at Wenger. I was like, let him stay for another 10 days.
Yeah.
Why do you need to rush him? And I think
Yeah.
the season
bec-
in US when he was playing
MLS.
for
US.
Red
Yes.
Yeah.
Bulls, it was supposed to start on 28th of February.
Oh.
So there was not
Okay.
like Henri would be missed out there in any of the games, and I was really mad. But
Yeah.
yeah, letting him go like 10 days before the game was
Yeah.
just something that I could not fathom. And if I and just to add, I was also pissed that we did not go for Van der Vaart because Van der Vaart was proven at
Oh
Madrid.
yes, he was. Yeah.
And when we let
Mhm.
Yeah. Yes.
Fabregas go,
He.
I was a little bit mad that why wouldn't we go for Van der Vaart when Van der Vaart was available? And plus, the other player that I always admired at Tottenham was Modric. And especially
Oh
coming back
yes.
to the
Yeah.
game, the first goal was
Yeah.
what makes somebody like Modric special, right? The pass that
Yeah.
Modric made all the way up to Saha was something special.
Mhm.
So yeah, when we talk
Yeah.
about the game, Modric is a guy that I love to hate because he was not at Arsenal, but
No. Yeah.
Mhm.
he
I think
was
and
special.
that season Modric was really good. And was it the following season that he went to Real Madrid? End of that season is, if I'm not wrong, that he went to Real Madrid, right? Because Bale
Yes.
joined the season after that. Yes, yes. So
Mhm.
Modric was a player in form at Real Madrid, at Tottenham, who it was, and he was involved in both the goals, if I'm not wrong, or one of the
Yes.
goals. But he had a very
One of
important
them.
part.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, let's discuss this match now. So we start off with yes. Saha scoring first and Adebayor converting a penalty. And at that point of time, it looks like okay, all hope gone. There would be a 13-point gap between us and the Champions League spot. And I think it was and we had some couple of chances after that because we did Van Persie did have a shot and stuff that way. And then all of a sudden, Van Persie hits the post. Um,
Walcott hit the post.
and
Yeah,
was it
Walcott.
Walcott? Okay,
Walcott hit
No,
the
no, no.
post.
yeah,
Van Persie hit the post.
yeah.
Was it
Yes.
And
Percy? I
then
thought Walcott hit the post from a really acute angle. He tried to hit the post, it went
I
in,
think
and then it
Van
went to the
Persie
corner.
also missed a couple of really
Van
good chances before he
for the
scored.
goal, but it was Van Persie who hit the post. It goes to
Hmm.
Arteta, our current manager,
Yeah.
who puts in a cross, and out comes Sanya out of nowhere with a bullet header. So yes, can you take us through your reaction of that and what you felt at that point of time?
We were 2 goals down. It was, I think, the
Yeah,
43rd minute 40th minute, I think.
40th
That
it was
minute.
something that yeah,
40th
good
minute,
point.
yeah. It was the 40th minute when Sania came in with the header, and I was like, okay, at least at the halftime we go in with some bit of hope that yes, it is
Yes,
2-1. It's not as bad as it would have been going 2-0 down when they come back and completely shut shop, but
yeah.
some hope. And then 43rd minute that happens where you again get that. I don't remember the
That
defender,
Van
but they tried
Persie,
to hit the
Yeah.
ball
yeah,
over the goal, and Van Persie got it, and he turned. And Percy at that form, the minute you give him that bit of a space and he turns around, it's going to go. He's
that
going to
that was
score.
a that was a mad goal. But to take it on that turn and to curl it in the corner that way, that
Yes,
was just
and
simply superb.
it just makes you realize that we have not had a striker who is as good with his back to the goal. We have had Walcott, on his good days, he was a good finisher. You have had Giroud, who was, good header, but
Mhm.
Van Persie was a complete package. He was good with his front facing the goal. He was good with his back facing the goal. He was so aware of where everybody was, and that was just another example of Van Persie
Yeah,
being, one of the best strikers that we have had in the Premier League
yeah,
era.
Yeah, yeah,
But
definitely.
without a doubt. Since Thierry Henry, we had a number of strikers. But
Yeah,
I would say, since Henry left in 2006-7, in the last 13, 14 years, we haven't really had a striker like Van Persie. It was really a shame that, he chose to join United. He could have had a
yeah.
really good legacy, but, let's not talk about that.
Well,
He
let's
was an
not let's
exceptional.
not go there.
Yes,
Yeah,
he,
yeah.
he 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 had an exceptional season that year. He was perhaps the
Yes.
reason why he and Alex Song that we finished
Yeah,
in the top
I
three.
think Alex Song had a lot of assists too. And Alex Song had 11 assists that season. I remember that,
yes,
Hmm.
and he
Yes.
got those. He got that because he started to play a bit up front, whereas Arteta sat back and shielded the
Yes.
defense.
Yes.
So that is how Alex Song and a lot of his assists were to Van Persie itself. Like basically, Van Persie was the main guy scoring our goals. So yeah, we go into halftime at 2-2, and I'll tell you from my point of view, like when we scored, that Sanya scored, to celebrate that goal with the Arsenal fans was something. And then when
Hmm.
Van Persie scored for it to be 2-2, it's these are the moments you live for in your life in your life as a football fan. These are beautiful moments, and when you celebrate it with fellow fans, it's just superb. So okay, sorry. So somewhere we go into halftime at 2-2, we come back out, and that's when we run riot again. So take us through your
Yeah,
take
you know,
on the comeback.
I would in fact say that we started running riots right from the time that Tottenham had scored their second goal. Van Persie and Walcott had come close to scoring even before we had scored our first goal. And
Yeah,
once the second half started, you could sense that something special was about to happen because we were relentless in our attack. We hardly gave any space or any breather to Tottenham. We were at them. And then finally, out of nowhere, seeing Thomas Rosicky link so well with
yeah.
Walcott and Sanya, if I'm not wrong, on the right. And then, with that
Oh yeah, it
finish,
was Sanya.
you
Yeah,
said that, yeah, it,
yes,
it was a tap in, but it wasn't actually a tap in.
yeah,
There was very little space with the keeper and the
yeah,
defender surrounding him, and to get that touch, it was just
yeah.
absolutely phenomenal. And Thomas Rosicky, he scored some wonderful goals in NLD, and this was perhaps one of the finest that he has scored in his time at Arsenal. That third goal really, it just showed that no
Yeah,
matter how good Tottenham play, they will always be in our shadows. I
yeah.
guess that was the defining moment of the season for us because
Season, definitely, yes.
we really, took our game to the next level after this game. This entire
Yes.
whatever happened in this game, it was a really good change, a positive change for us in the season. And then finally seeing Walcott score 2 goals in 3 minutes. And if I'm not wrong, even before Walcott scored, Van Persie had a very good chance. It was a good save by the keeper.
Yeah.
Brad Friedel, if I'm not wrong, he was the Tottenham
Yeah.
keeper that night. And then seeing Walcott with those two finishes, it was
Yeah.
really amazing at that time. That was perhaps
In fact,
Walcott at his
yeah.
best too.
Yeah. In fact, one of the points which I would like to mention was one of Walcott's goals, which was
Hmm.
assisted by Van Persie. You can see the quality that Van Persie had is because Van Persie goes towards the right, and there are
Yes,
three Tottenham players around him and one person coming there. So you can see the what Tottenham's game plan was like to just stop Van Persie. And Van
Van
Persie,
Persie.
as KU said, he takes a turn and on his left foot or right foot, you know, because everybody
He
is
makes
dragged
that
towards
pass to
him.
Walcott, yes.
Everyone is dragged towards him. Walcott makes that run, and he just has to pass it to Walcott in the open, which shows that that is the quality that Percy had. No matter how many defenders came on him, like he just did
Definitely,
that, and that's it.
he had a wonderful. He could hold the ball. He had a brilliant
Yeah.
one hold up play. He had an amazing touch, and his finish was
Yes.
probably the best since I've seen since Henry.
Yeah.
And even now,
Yes.
Aubameyang, he's an exceptional player, but I still feel that he's not at the same level as Robin van Persie. He was just
Yeah.
something else, especially in that season.
Yeah. So yeah, so this was the game that kicked it off, and I think before for my final thought about the point about
Mhm.
this game was, this is where I give Arsene Wenger a lot of credit that way. So Arsene Wenger, maybe because of longevity and maybe because he was not really under pressure at his job that way, he he used to get a bit more time. But one thing what I liked about Wenger was when the chips were down, when the team was not playing well or when there were a couple of bad results, Wenger somehow had it in him to have this one match and he would turn the game. He would turn the
Mhm.
season around. So like Arsenal had moments throughout his let's apart from his final 2 seasons, maybe let's not get there, but apart from that, like Wenger had these moments where when the team was down, not doing well, he like you see today, like for instance, Arteta did it against Chelsea, which was I was pleasantly surprised. But a lot of managers, once the team is in a bad rut, they are not getting results. That's it. They have no way of motivating the players, and that's it. That's when the manager gets the sack. But Wenger wasn't that way. He somehow used to turn the game around. He would somehow turn the season around, and then the team would go on some kind of a run. You know. Nowadays, a manager will give up, they'll lose the dressing room, but Wenger didn't. So that is one thing I always liked about Wenger, and that's what happened after this match. We just we were out of the cups and no doubt, but we had a good second half in the AC Milan game, and we
Mhm.
ended up getting back into the Champions League, which was a good fight considering the way the season started and it was going. Yes.
So one
Okay,
thing,
you.
Elroy, I
Yeah.
would like to ask both you guys is Theo Walcott. Do you think
Yeah.
Theo Walcott was underrated?
I, if you ask me, I genuinely feel he was. I mean, because people look at Theo Walcott because of the chances that he has missed, or because of the injuries he has had. But even though he was at the club for more than 10 years. Yes, I agree. He's got a lot of chances. At the end of the day, he's an Arsenal player who has scored more than 100 goals,
Yes.
and you know, it doesn't. You aren't. I mean, I'm just saying no average player is going to get 100 goals for the Arsenal just like that. Yes, he's not the best of players, but he gets disrespected quite a bit in my opinion. I feel Walcott was a good player, not a very good or star player, but he was a very good a good player for Arsenal, and he gets disrespected, which I do not like, because no doubt recently he has had some interviews which are, I don't agree with him, but I still like him as a player, and I felt that he offered a lot and he scored in a lot of big games. Back then, when Arsenal would struggle to win against big teams, Walcott was the one who used to get us goals in these big games. And I personally like Walcott a lot that way.
I
Not that I'm praising
Yeah,
someone
I
who's bad or
so
something, but yeah, yeah,
yeah, so just to add to that, Walcott, see, there's no doubt he failed to live up to that potential, the initial hype, a young English player coming through the ranks, first at Southampton, then at Arsenal. There was the expectations from him were at an all-time high, because generally you don't see English players with so much potential. It is a rarity. Let's face it. Walcott had something special in him. He didn't live up to his potential, no doubt, but he had that knack of scoring important goals against big teams, especially. If you look at, if I'm not wrong, he had scored a hat trick at Stamford Bridge when we had beaten Chelsea after we were down. I think it was a similar result, 4-1 or 4-2, if I'm not wrong. So Walcott really had it in him to score goals in these pressure kind of situations. Whether he's underrated or overrated, that is really, it is up to people. What do
See,
you feel,
my
Kayur?
so with my take on that is, I think Walcott would have got his due respect if he had not wore his number 14 jersey. Number 14
Yes,
jersey for Arsenal is special, and you have tons of expectation. You walk into
Yeah.
that number 14 jersey and you walk in on the pitch and you say, yes, you have the pace to match something, then you have to be super special. And if he had not wore that
definitely.
number 14, 15, 16, 17, he would have been recognized now. But if you look at his career now again at Southampton, I think there's a mini revival there. I think he's playing really good at
Yes.
Southampton.
Hmm.
Yeah, he has. I mean, Everton was a downer for him, but he has picked it up again at
So
Southampton.
So
And
here is,
yes, I
and before I think it's about time we wrap up. So
yes.
I know that we had a beautiful run in the end, but what makes this season special for me, at least, is not Arsenal, but the last match of the season where the commentators shouted Aguero. That is what makes this
Oh
season
yes.
special. This
Definitely.
was that season.
Yes, definitely.
Definitely.
So actually, if you go to see, this season was a mad season. Even Arsenal, when United had a chance of going, I think 8 points clear of City, because we defeated City at home at that point of time, and
Hmm.
for City to still come back and win the title. I mean, this season had a lot of things. Probably if I would be people don't talk about the 2011 2012 season a lot, maybe because it was overall as a Premier League season, it was definitely something special, because at the same time you have a thing where Chelsea get knocked out of the top four, Tottenham get into the top four, but they don't get into the Champions League. Like, so much has happened in that season and people don't talk about a lot about it. So KU, that's a very good point that you brought up. Very, very
And
underrated season, and
and
I think that
Liverpool
people should talk
also
more about.
Liverpool also finished out of the top four in
Yeah.
that season.
Yes.
So yes, so a lot to discuss with this season, and very, very good shout out, Keyur, for that to say. So guys, I
All
think
right.
I think yes, we can
No, no,
wrap up this
I was just
segment.
about wrapping up that. Yeah, it's been a long
Yes,
video.
sure.
I mean, no
Yeah,
matter how much we talk about this game, it's never going to be enough. So
yeah, exactly. Yes.
all
Yeah.
right. Well, I guess that's all that we have for today, guys. Once again, if you have come this far in the video, please do hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you have really liked the content, please do be glad to share it with anyone. We are back to the nets, and we will probably come back again. Leave us in your comments as to which game you would like us to talk about next, and we would be glad to dig into it, do some research, and come back and share our views.
Yes.
So
Of course.
that's all that we
I
have,
have a
guys.
very happy
Thanks,
to talk about these games. Yes. Yes. Thank you, guys.
thanks,
Nice
Samved.
chatting
Thanks,
with you
Roy.
again.
Thanks, guys. Yeah,
Wish.
All
Yeah.
it
right.
was fun
You guys
reliving
Shall catch up
this
stay
next week.
safe.
Yeah.
classic.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Yes.
let's
Yeah.
let's catch up again
Okay.
soon.
Yes. Yeah. Bye bye.